Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Girl Boss Bible, the podcast where we have honest conversations to help you build the career and life that you want. Whether you're just starting out, climbing a ladder, or you're simply looking for a bit of big sister advice, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Katy Clay, and today I'm joined by Amy Woodpine, a corporate lawyer and partner. We're chatting all things networking, personal branding, confidence, career progression, and just general lessons that Amy has learned throughout her career. So thanks so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you on.
You're welcome. Thanks, Katie. It's really exciting to be here.
I'm just so buzzing. We got introduced from Louise, who was on a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And she's fab. And she just met you and said, you need to interview Amy. So
yeah, it's funny how these things come around, because Louise and I did a transaction together about 3 years ago, and then since then her career has spiraled off in all kinds of different directions. She's still doing the sort of things she was doing when I worked with her, but obviously the work fashion, the corporate wardrobe stuff has really taken off, and we've not had a chance. She'd had a baby, we've not had a chance to catch up since. So we went for coffee, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, and she mentioned you, and that's how it's kind of all come together. So it's really nice how we've got to this point now.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's just amazing what I don't know, a bit of networking and a bit of meeting different people from different industries can do. Yeah, really, really cool. So, yeah, buzzing to have you on. How's your week been? Have you had a good week? I
have had the week that feels like it's been going on forever, if I'm entirely honest with you. So so what are we on now? Wednesday morning. So I completed a transaction on Saturday morning, which, spoiler alert, is not a working day for those of us in offices. It's a transaction that I've actually been working on since May last year, which is long. That, transactions can run for several months, but that is long, even by my industry standards. And we completed, I think we'd hoped to complete during the day on Friday, as you would normally. But inevitably, these things never go quite to plan. So it kind of all spiraled. And there was myself and my team. I think we went to bed at 2. We woke up at 5:30. But the thing is, you're not even, at this point, we're not doing work. It's admin, it's docu-signing, checking things. Chasing people to sign things, and we finally got signed off at lunchtime on Saturday. So in the olden days, we would have all been round a table with pieces of paper, everybody sat in one room, and it would have felt like an occasion. But now with DocuSign, the advent of technology, that's great. It is great. And ultimately, I was in my pajamas doing all of that stuff at 2:00 in the morning at home with dogs, but the occasion is gone. So we had a quick phone call, confirm completion, which is amazing, and I'm delighted. But I immediately went to bed, because then obviously England played Norway later that night, and I knew I needed to be halfway conscious to be able to watch that. So it was back to bed for a nap. It's huge. It's huge news. And I am genuinely pleased, but it doesn't even stop there, because we then have to distribute money after that, and that is also stressful, because these things have admin and processes and procedures to follow. And so I'm basically I don't work Fridays, so I'm working through to the end of tomorrow, and that's the end of what feels like the longest week in the world.
That started on Saturday. Oh my God. Yeah, that's heavy. And it sounds like what you picture it in a films, like you say, like everyone sat around the table, yes, and it being like, but that's gone nowadays with all the...
It's really not glamorous. When I started my career as a trainee in 2006, so 20 years this year. And obviously we didn't have things like DocuSign. We didn't have Teams, none of these things. People had to be in one place. If you might have had signatures faxed, but you were pretty much calling people in and saying, you're not allowed to leave until we've got this signed. If we need to deliver food in for you, that's fine. I've had clients sleeping under meeting room tables before. It's not glamorous, but there would be, as we were kind of approaching completion, you'd hear this clinking, because there would somebody, even if it was 2, 3, 4 in the morning, it would have been left outside. There would have been a trolley with champagne on it, and it'd be kind of clinking. So you would at least have this kind of occasion, and you could look your clients in the whites of their eyes and say, well done, you've done this, congratulations, it's been a slog. But now we don't generally have that. People don't want to do that. People want to have the flexibility, and that's absolutely fine. So, you are doing completions in your pajamas, on a
2
phone
a.m. Yeah.
call, and hoping that nobody wants a Teams chat to sign off when your hair's kind of all over and you look like you died a week ago, and you're
Wow.
exhausted. It's exhausting, and it's all about context. People, I do remember, it is just documents and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, for the people involved in the transaction, it's huge. This is their life's work that we are then dealing with. It is important, and it's quite nice to mark the occasion. And so it does sometimes feel a little underwhelming when you're then just ringing them going, yeah, done, congratulations.
Yeah. Oh my God, Amy. Wow. So, well, before we get into delving into a bit more about what it is to be an actual corporate lawyer, because a confession is, I'm not 100% in the know of what it means. So
Fine,
I think
that's fine.
when I think everyone expects like some sort of like everyone being a barrister in the wig when they say they're a lawyer, and it's really not the case, is it? So
No,
we'll definitely unpack all of that. So yeah, you've had a mega week. So I would just have a little look at what everyone else has been up to this week. So we've had a couple of girl boss moves come in. Nothing major. I've only had 3. So I'm going to do them as anon, just because they're a little bit personal, these.
Okay.
So we've had one girl. She's finally started to see changes in her team after being consistent with all her objectives. So nice managerial boss moves.
Yes.
Yes, we like that. Prompts. The second one is new house confirmed and pay rise confirmed.
Oh, so, amazing.
Big.
Yeah, smashing it.
Snaps for that. This is giving Legally Blonde, actually.
Isn't it? Oh my God, that's immediately what came to mind.
What is it called? Snaps. Yeah. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
And the last one is my other friend who's actually just she's consulting out to some different businesses because she's also gone self-employed, and she's faking it till she makes it with some recruitment, and they've just given her amazing feedback. So again, snaps.
Yeah, snaps.
My boss week also, Amy. I signed up to a High Rocks last night. Well, I've signed up. It's in December.
You've not been yet? No.
One of the responses on my Instagram was, "Did you agree to that pissed?" So that should give you a bit of a background of the faith that my friends have in me. So I don't know if it's a boss move or a crazy move, but it's a goal.
Know what? You've signed up to it, so you're kind of halfway there. And if you do one, great. If you don't do what, I mean,
well, I'm in it now. $250 down. So I'm in.
Do it. Do it.
I am in it.
Even if you never do another one, do that one.
Yeah. I mean, I'd ask you if you've got a boss move, but I feel like you've had a boss week.
You know what? I think getting the deal done, genuinely, because there's been times throughout the process where it has felt like we weren't going to make it. It's felt like the deal's going to fall over, and actually all that work would have just been kind of for nothing. And so to have got it done is, really is. Like it's. I think I probably sound quite jaded about the whole thing, so I'm just really tired. But
no, joking.
Seriously, so we on the Sunday. So we had the Saturday. I had my nap, watched the football, went to bed, got up on Sunday, and we had a bit of a day out. And then I went back and had another nap. I don't normally do nothing, but it's just. I think as well, it's a process. It's a culmination of a process of these things kind of ramp up, and so the last few weeks have all been quite long working weekends, long days, firefighting sometimes. So I think once the dust has settled and I've finally kind of got all the last little bits of like admin out of the way, I can look back on it and go, right, yeah, good, that was great. I'm really pleased, because it is a big deal, but at the moment I think I'm still sort of stuck in the weeds of it a bit.
Yeah, catching up on sleep. Just get through. Yeah. Surviving on coffee. Yeah.
Yes.
Fair enough. Right. Well, I think let's start before you became Amy, the corporate lawyer, I suppose. I think just tell us a little bit about maybe your background, where you come from. Obviously, Northern like me, which we love. Big props for that again. Yeah. And yeah, well, something we actually discussed, which is quite funny, actually quite appropriate at the moment, is on your LinkedIn intro, you spoke about that. It says that you wanted to be a prime minister when you was a kid.
Yeah.
And same, which is quite funny
We
because
might have a chance, you know.
well, now if only Andy Burnham was like, and not, whatever political views people have, to just say a northerner probably gonna get it,
Yeah.
might have changed my mind of what I did in my career. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's quite apt. But anyway, side note. Yeah, just give us a little bit of background. Like, was you always ambitious? What was your like upbringing like, etc.?
Yeah, I think I was. So I'm one of four. I'm the eldest of four. So I think I do, and I think it's easy to get sucked into kind of Instagram memes and stuff. But I do think I kind of fit that stereotypical eldest daughter type role.
Mm-hmm.
I was conscientious at school. I worked hard. I, did all my homework on time. I wanted to be top of the class. I was very much your stereotypical SWAT. And right from, I mean, literally can't remember a time even at sort of primary school and at like junior school kind of being not interested in wanting to kind of, I think what I didn't want, and I think this, I don't want to be in trouble, but I wanted to be top, and I just wanted to do my best. I think I've always been sort of conscientious and hardworking. I am really fortunate, and obviously we talked about this when we first met. But I so went to the local state primary school in Bradford, and then when I was 9, took the 9+. Which was the entrance exam for the local grammar school, a fee paying but grammar school. And the education system in Bradford, the schools in Bradford weren't great at the time, to be honest. I can't comment if they've improved, but my parents were very much of the opinion, because I worked hard and was top of all these classes. I'd been reading since I was, before school and all this stuff. And they were just sort of saying, look, if you pass the exam, you are going to go there. And I was upset because none of my friends were going to be there and all this stuff. But anyway, I did pass, and that kind of set me on the path then through school. So, it's difficult. Well, it's not difficult. It kind of is what it is. I did go to a private school, and so therefore that automatically sets me on a slightly different path. And I appreciate that is something that people do find problematic. And I recognise that. But at the same time, I also worked really hard. Again, like even getting then into that school, I still wanted to be top of the class all the time. And when the exam, we'd have end of year exams, and I wanted to be top. And if I wasn't top, I'd be disappointed and all this stuff. And right from being quite young, I think my mum said to me, maybe I was 11 or 12, I can't remember. My mum made some comment and said, oh, you're really clever and you could probably go to Oxford or something. I can't remember. But I think that kind of nugget stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But I wasn't happy at that school. So the school I went to when I was 9 and I stayed till I was 16 was an all-girls school, and I really struggled. I didn't fit in. Maybe it was because I was just a super SWAT, and but I didn't really fit in there. I didn't ever feel entirely comfortable. I didn't feel like I had a really close group of friends. I felt like I was on the periphery of everything, and I felt like that I wasn't, people's first invitation to anything. And that's fine, but it just wasn't. I don't think it really worked for me. And so when I got to sixth form, I was like, someone had asked me, and I don't know quite kind of why, how we ended up going there, asking if I wanted to go to there's another grammar school in Bradford Grammar School. So I went to Bradford Girl, this one's Bradford Grammar School. Had a mixed sixth form. My brothers were there, my dad had gone there, and I'd gone along and immediately loved it. It just had a different feel. It was bigger and more imposing, and it felt like it had this weight of history behind it.
Yeah.
And the subjects were slightly different, and they sort of aligned more with what I wanted to do and where I could see myself going. Anyway, I switched and went there for my sixth form with my brothers instead of my sister. And immediately I just loved it. I knew that I kind of fitted in, and we were really outnumbered. So even in a
is different, Amy, as well. If you've got, the girls and the boys mixed and having just an all girls, is it?
It is different. So I think loads of women together, and I think it's changing, because actually increasing, like now, you don't want to be in an echo chamber, but I network almost exclusively with women. I mean, not completely, because obviously, well, not obviously, but what I do is incredibly male dominated. So I kind of recognize the need that we need more women to rise up, and there's very few corporate partners for reasons we can discuss. But got into this sixth form, and yes, we were mixed, but also we were really outnumbered. In my year, I think there was 120 students, and 14 of us were girls.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, and everyone will sit there and go, oh, well, loads of boys, were. And you go, well, yeah, okay. But also bear in mind, they'd had a single sex education since they were 8. Most of them were terrified of us and didn't want to talk to us. And it was just this, but it was great. And that was what set me kind of on the path of thinking. That was when I started thinking, I could be a prime minister. I think I enjoyed politics. I enjoyed history. It was less spoon-fed than my previous school had been, but that's possibly because it was A-levels rather than GCSE.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You do feel a level of independence when you step up, I think, to that that route. But
and
it's
you
funny
drop
when you say
subjects you don't like, and you never, when I was doing science in GCSE, I knew full well I was never going to do a sciencey career. So I needed to get it done and get the grades, and that was that. But I had literally no interest in whether or not how fast a car ran down a route. I couldn't care less. Not interested.
Yeah. No, it's but it's funny because you had that in sixth form, like you say, and then you're in a really male-dominated industry. So in a way, it's put you in unbelievable stead to navigate being in a room full of blokes, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is not many women have that opportunity, actually, which is probably done, obviously, definitely will have done you really, really well. So
I think, you know what? I've not thought about it like that before, but I think you're absolutely right, because a lot of what I do, it's all relationships. In fact, everything I do, it's all about relationships, and relationships come down to how you talk to people and interact with people and finding things in common. And stereotypical though it may be, it is still largely the case that if you've got a room full of blokes, you're going to find that more of them will want to talk about things like football, rugby, cricket, than the same number of women in a room. Now, and clearly that is changing, and rightly so. But actually, I think the skill for a job like mine is being able to find common ground with anybody. And it doesn't matter what that common ground is. It literally could be that your choice of coffee in a morning or whatever. But actually, I think I know that because I, like I said before, I try and network loads with women and try and building up a network of women, but inevitably I have to go and meet blokes and have coffees with them and get to know them. And you can tell when they first meet you as a woman, they're not quite sure what they're going to be faced with. And thinking, in the aftermath, or we're still living through like the Me Too movement, they're also very conscious of their actions and what they say and what they do. And you can see them thinking, I don't want to get in a position where I feel like I could be accused of something, or being, saying or doing something inappropriate or whatever. But, when you start talking about, so, the transaction that I've just finished, the last month of it has been through the World Cup. The client really likes football. The corporate finance guys really like football. One evening back months ago when we were doing this transaction, there was some talk about a meeting, and I said, look, I can't be there. I'm going, and actually what I'm doing is going to Valley Parade for a dinner to celebrate Bradford City getting promoted at Wembley 30 years ago. And immediately that then was just a little ching where they were, oh, actually, hang on a second, there's a football link there. So then conversations we could include, the football matches or whatever, and it becomes less professional and more of that personal relationship, and that helps transactions move more easily if you can pick the phone up to somebody and just talk to them on a human level rather than this kind of automated professional, if that makes sense.
Yeah, football, I mean, I've always found that a huge coming to Australia, I really struggle because none of them have any interest in it. It's all AFL. I have no idea about any of it. So that's like put me on the back foot. But like in the UK, I was almost seen as a bit laddish at times because I know my football. But it can go both ways because I can like it, but it pisses me off in a way because it's almost like you can use it as an in because they'll basically, as soon as you start showing your knowledge, the levels of respect for you go up.
Yeah.
But that pisses me off at the same time, because it's like, well, you know what I mean? It's one of them where it's like a double-edged sword, because I love that I can do that and I will use and abuse that. Don't get me wrong, just like you say. But why does it take for me to know, I don't know, the Declan Rice, the central midfielder or whatever, for you to then have a bit of respect for me? It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think. I mean, it depends how cynical you want to be about it, I suppose. But I think some of it comes down to just as simple as it makes the person you're speaking to, particularly if it is a man, comfortable.
Yeah.
And therefore, because they feel comfortable, it's not necessarily about them not respecting you, but they know how to handle you better because they feel comfortable with you, because they know that they can talk about Declan Rice and will he be fit tonight and all of this stuff, and they can have a meaningful conversation rather than have this conversation it wash over. And so I try and have. I mean, there are certain things I have a curious mind anyway, and so that really helps. So it's not just about But I grew up with brothers, so inevitably, and I brought a City season ticket holder, so inevitably all of these things kind of permeate through your life. My brothers played rugby and all of this stuff, but I'm also curious and nosy, and I like learning things. And I'm also not afraid to kind of ask questions of people. So, I met someone a year or so ago who said she'd been a candidate for the Tory party for a previous election we had. Can't remember what. It's not the same political affiliation as me. However, I found that utterly fascinating that somebody had decided to put themselves out there to do that alongside their job and spend their weekends and evenings leafleting and, talking to people and all of this stuff. And, that to me shows a certain dedication to public service and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so immediately, I can't remember what we were having a meeting about, but I wanted to learn more about that because it is interesting. It's different. It's not what I do. And much as I'm interested in politics, I do not want to be a politician anymore. My prime minister ambitions have definitely gone. But,
yeah.
But it's just interesting and curiosity. And, you then know that, and, just interest in people, I think, is really important. But finding a common ground, and like I said before, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be, it's not something sitting here to people going, oh, well, if you want to work well in an industry dominated by men, learn about football. Because that's just nonsense. Because, because not all men like football. I mean, it's incredibly stereotypical, but it is something that is working. I mean, loads of people I work with, they all play golf, and I don't play golf, and I don't. So we just don't talk about it because pointless conversation.
I've got into golf, funnily enough, but
you got the weather for it over there a bit more than we have here.
But I'd rather die than watch it. Playing it's fine, but I'm not. I don't think I'll ever watch it. Just get a little the buggy and scoot around. Like, it's actually quite fun, but not for that. No. But yeah. Well. Yeah, interesting. We've totally gone off, but I love it. So let's just go back to starting off. Did you start off straight into corporate lawyering? Is that what would you say?
No, well, no. So when I finished my degree and I had no idea what I wanted to do, and so I went to law school, and you kind of do the basics, so just trot through that, and it's changed now. So that was that. But in order to get funding for the 2 years at law school, what you really needed to do, if you could, was get a training contract at one of the larger firms. They would pay your fees and they'd pay you like a maintenance grant. So I applied to one of the big international law firms, and there was two reasons for that. One was the funding, clearly. The second one, though, was my parents had been through quite a nasty divorce whilst I was at university. It was really unpleasant, and obviously that involved lawyers. And I thought, you know what? The last thing I want to be is a family lawyer who is dealing with people who are facing and addressing the hardest parts of their career. And I just thought, I wouldn't be able to separate myself from that. And what I want to do is work with companies or, doing something that's not so personal. So went off to my training contract, and I was not particularly well researched thinking back now, and I didn't know what the names of the teams were. So I did the first 6 months in property, which just bored me senseless. But I was doing what they call corporate support work. So you buy a company and the company will have properties. So you need property lawyers to help you out. So I've been doing some of this work and I thought this was quite exciting. So in my second seat, when you do a training contract, you do 2 years, and most firms will split out. You do 6 months in 4 departments. So for my second 6 months, I went and joined corporate and immediately just really enjoyed it. It's not, so when you mentioned before about barristers and wigs, I don't do any of that. What it's called transactional work. So basically there's an end goal, there's a company, somebody wants to buy it, somebody wants to sell it, and everybody's working to that common goal. Yes, there'll be differences of opinion. Yes, there'll be negotiation points, but ultimately that same goal is the same for everybody. But it was quite fast paced. There's a lot of project management in it because, as I said before, you have all your specialist lawyers helping you out. So you're kind of coordinating all of that. There was a lot of client contact right from, bearing in mind at this point, I was 6-8 months into my job, but I was already in client meetings, absorbing and different sectors. So, to pick up on the football club, we sold a football club during my training contract, but we also dealt with businesses that made roof insulation and insurance brokers and goodness, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And there was an element of glamour to it because some of the stories get in the press when the clients and the companies are big enough and well-known names. So the football club got in the press, and that's exciting. I was 25, of course it was exciting. 23.
Yeah. Are they all like companies and everything then, Amy? So it won't be like, I mean, I guess you probably don't deal with that sort of stuff now, but sort of if you look at this, like this more starter end of corporate, being a corporate lawyer, could it be that you might be selling like a sole trader's assets or for, something of that ilk, like a customer base and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, less so now. Most people do generally put everything into a company because it separates the personal from the private. If you have a company with a separate bank account and that company faces financial difficulty, the limitation or the financial limitation is generally, not exclusively, and obviously this is not legal advice, is limited to that company. But yes, there are people who,
and also a test for that with the fraud, anything fraudulent, you will still get.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's where you've got an early stage business and the bank, you've not got much trading behind you, and the bank is saying, well, we'll lend you some money, but we need some kind of security for that, and they want a charge against your house, for example. That does happen, and it's quite common. So it's that kind of thing. Now, if you are a business that's trading through and you've never actually needed that, then that doesn't matter. You wouldn't have done that, and that's the end of that, and you managed to kind of work, grow without that kind of funding. But it's called a corporate veil, and basically, to the extent your business hits the skids, it isn't necessarily going to hit you personally. Now, if you are then a sole trader, and so you are your business and your business is you, and the two are one and the same, that's when you can kind of end up in that kind of sort of sticky situation where your personal finances are entwined. And also, I mean, I just think, in terms of financial discipline, if you've got a company, you'll have separate accounts. They have to be filed every year. Have an accountant helping you, and what's yours is yours and what's theirs is theirs. And you can just kind of, you've got, what your money for the week without kind of dipping in and out and using it. Again, it still happens. Don't use the company as your bank account, but.
Yes, also. But so defo, go via a limited business.
I would. There's more admin and there's bits of additional cost to it, but not significant. But I think that is always.
Well, it's tax savings as well, so I don't, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Well, exactly. There are pros and cons to all of it, but I would say limited company.
So, right, because I just find this like really interesting, and it's a funny one because like until I met you, I actually did not know this job was a real like a thing. Right? I know. In a way, like you see films, you see like the lawyers coming in and they're doing the deal and the negotiation and things like that. But when I've actually thought about it, it's like actually this job like would have loved that because it's still business. Yeah. But you're doing like real meaningful work and it's all project based and you're client facing. I think are all like really big ticks for a job where you're getting satisfaction, you're getting something back from a client, you're dealing with the public, but you're also it's more B2B kind of public. And you're doing like you're doing big deals like mergers, acquisitions, I imagine. Yeah. Do you deal with companies that are also going into like liquidation? So if they've gone into administration, would you facilitate buy out in that sense as well, or?
So in that circumstance, we have specialist restructuring lawyers or insolvency lawyers who, because there
Right.
are a separate set of rules for that, but also depending on kind of what happens. So if the business ends up in some kind of insolvency process and then the assets are then being bought by somebody else, which obviously we do see happen, people buy, Debenhams or, Topshop assets or
Mm,
whatever. Corporate lawyers can help with that.
mm,
It's slightly different, and the rules are slightly different because at that point, you have to think about the people who are owed money
yes.
rather than when I'm dealing with companies that I'm dealing with that are solvent, your duties are to the shareholders. When you hit an insolvency scenario, the duty shifts towards the creditors, the people who are
Yeah.
owed money, basically. But yes,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't run that transaction, but we can help. And I do have contacts who are insolvency practitioners. And so there is sometimes an element and a lot of the jobs I do, it's not just me kind of project managing, it's also working in partnership with insolvency lawyers or litigators
Mm,
to make sure that the client gets the right advice. So it's not,
yeah.
I think the thing, so you mentioned like lawyers on TV, and it's funny because British TV and US TV both do this. And obviously I can't comment on US lawyers, but to me, watching them on TV, they all seem to do everything. They're all
Yeah.
generalists. And you'll get this, if you've ever watched The Good
Yeah.
Wife, get
My
up.
lawyer. Just ring
Yeah,
my
my
lawyer.
lawyer. And it's the
Yeah.
divorce, buying a house, buying a business, suing somebody. It's all the same person. But if you watch TV in this country, it's the same here. The same lawyer will get wheeled out, witness a will and write a will for somebody. Is he will to sort of deal with like their business? And I sit there thinking I wouldn't know where to start with wills. So I think I can come, or if you think it's a bit like most people will probably only ever deal with a solicitor when they're buying a house or getting a divorce, probably. And
Mm,
there's no guarantee that anyone will actually do either of those things. Neither of those things are certain in life. So some people can merrily go through their entire life and never deal with a solicitor. So all they see on TV is either the same lawyer, the sad person in an ill-fitting suit getting wheeled out to witness wills and do goodness knows what else, or there'll be the barristers in court with the wigs talking about my
yeah.
lord, with the gowns on, talking in quite an aggressive manner. And it's
Yeah.
really unlike their life. And, and it's old fashioned, it's antiquated. And part of, the historian in me loves that.
Yeah.
But it's also quite intimidating. And like I said, I don't do any of that. But I think what it's meant is that there has been this sort of historic gulf between people, just people,
Mm,
and the profession, where they think that it is something that is the reserve of posh people or rich people or
yeah.
and it's just so far removed from their ordinary life, and they don't
Yeah.
realize that there's all these different facets and there's thousands of lawyers in this country. We all do different things,
Hmm. Yeah.
and because of the way it's portrayed on telly, like,
Yeah.
and also let's be honest, it's when you're a kid, you sort of kids want to be footballers or astronauts or prime minister. They don't usually, like I definitely didn't think, oh God, being a lawyer sounds great fun.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be. Like it's just not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you hear the word corporate lawyer, it probably couldn't sound, it sounds quite dull, but actually, if you're into business, it's actually a really cool job. Do you know what I mean?
It
If
is. I
you're
mean, it does sound really. I mean, it does. On it,
yeah,
people think,
yeah.
but
Do corporate law. Yeah,
yeah.
wow.
I mean, just yeah, law generally, everyone's like, Christ, that sounds dull. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think. I mean, there are. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There are parts of my job which are really dull and repetitive.
Yes.
And the
Well,
thing is,
everyone's is, I think.
everybody's and also that's kind of like you've got to cut your teeth on that. So unfortunately, more of that is as you're more junior and you're kind of learning your trade and you kind of get through all of that. And I was doing it 20 years ago, and we didn't have half the technology that helps people now. But
Yeah.
and then and then as you kind of get a bit more qualified, you get the more interesting things. But the contact really helps, and because networking is a big thing, and increasingly people are encouraged to do that right from day dot. Build your network. You'll grow with your network. If you're a trainee solicitor, nobody's expecting you to invite the CEO of a business out for coffee. But if you've done a transaction and there's been a junior on that deal at a different organisation, it might be the client, it might be a different advisor, link in with them and go for coffee with them, and you will grow with that advisor, so that when you're the partner and they're a CEO and they're a partner in their respective business, you've got that, those years and years of getting to know somebody and just, understanding how they work and hopefully being friends as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah. So actually, so going back to someone just starting out, say someone in today, they have maybe doing law at uni, they've just, done law on a whim, they didn't know what they wanted to do. I feel like that's also what quite a few people do, is they just think,
Yes, it looks like a good degree. It's a good degree. It's solid. It's respectable. Go for it. Yeah, fine.
But, okay, they're actually into this. They're thinking, I need to look for a training contract. Obviously, you was a little bit more blessed, but I guess you must interview people now and you must see people coming through the ranks and things like that. What would your advice be to someone who is looking to start to find a training contract now?
So I think don't worry about. So it's actually, this is quite well timed because I have actually just interviewed a load of people for a job starting in September at junior lawyer end, and we've seen people from right across the spectrum, ranging from junior lawyers who've actually come from overseas, and trained here, to people from just from all over the place with wide ranges of backgrounds and qualifications. And it is really hard because it's really competitive. We interviewed everybody that we saw, and I think the big thing is don't be scared. Don't be scared, because actually the profession is more inviting and more open than you maybe think it is. It recognises that it isn't diverse and that there is value in people being different and having different viewpoints. You don't actually have to have a law degree either. I don't have a law degree. And again, that's seen as a positive, that you've done something different. It might be something completely different, like chemistry or maths, but don't be ashamed of your background or where you've come from. And don't sit there thinking that any of that is going to be a hurdle to admission into the profession, because it really isn't. It's don't be scared and do back yourself, but be curious, be prepped. Ultimately, we are lawyers and we are sitting there trained to see gaps and ask pointed questions. And it may feel kind of awkward, but the reason, it's not to make you feel like crap. It's to probably because there's 10 other people and actually you're trying to kind of work out who's the best fit for your job and who's best at doing the job. But back yourself, be curious about where you're interviewing, but also the job you're looking to try and do. And again, nobody's expecting you to know everything. That's why we're here. We're here to train you and develop you into that lawyer. But I think don't be put off. Don't sit there thinking, oh, I'm from, rough part of Bradford or wherever. Like, don't think like that. People actually will be more impressed by the fact, or, this isn't meant to sound patronising, but people are impressed by people who work hard and who are dedicated and who are committed. And you don't worry that and also don't worry that you've taken a circuitous route. This is the other thing as well. Like the profession has opened up. I can't profess to know loads about it. There are different avenues to entry now. You don't actually have to have a degree anymore. You can be a solicitor apprentice and go from school, which obviously is a huge plus if you don't fancy walking out with £90,000 worth of debt. I mean, certainly I can absolutely see the value in that. If you know at 18 what you want to do, just get on, off you go, do that. Yeah. And nobody's going to look at you in a sort of negative way. I think if you really want to do something, I think you have to be proactive. The fact is, it is a competitive playing field, and you can't expect the opportunities to come to you. But if you are tenacious enough, ask questions, link in with people. I get a lot of LinkedIn requests from law students, be that at school or at uni, who send me messages and they ask about work experience, or they just ask about, they just are interested in my career and what I do. Do that. Don't be scared, because actually 99 times out of 100, you will get a response, and it will be a nice response, because actually we all, certainly women and the women that I speak to, we all feel the same way. I want to like lift people up and bring them in and make them realise that this profession is not, it's still male dominated, but that is changing. But also the women that do the job are great and cool and fun, and we're not disadvantaged in any way. And see your differences, if you've got any, as a strength. Like that, these are all good things.
Yeah. And if you're looking, say if you was to pick like like which you don't call them a business practice, which practice to go to. Obviously, I feel like smaller ones still offer training contacts and everything.
Yeah, they
But
do.
how would someone approach searching for that? Do they look on LinkedIn, or do they just look for, like, I don't know, practices in the area, or how do, like, say, I'm just trying to help.
Yeah.
Like, what I want to do with this pod is, someone comes from nothing, who has no idea about this world, to be able to start a search and figure out, right, where could I start
Yeah.
in this industry, let's say. So
Yeah.
where would you start looking?
So if let's assume you've gone the traditional route and you're at university, there'll be a law fair. Lawyers, law firms will all turn up and they'll put a stall out and you just go and talk to them and they'll give you a load of bump and a pen, probably. And,
Yeah.
you can read about them. Some some universities like Leeds, and I don't know if these still do it, but had what they called like a Made in Yorkshire law fair for law firms that were probably too small to kind of make it into the sort of larger ones. So that was recognizing that you don't just have to go to the big multinationals. There are then the regionals. Universities themselves and schools probably now that solicitor apprenticeships are now a thing, and you can go straight from school. So your careers advisors are also probably useful and always worth sort of picking people's brains about that kind of stuff. I mean, it sounds basic, but Google the law firms in your area, because you might have an idea of the kind of subject you want to do. You might think, no, I really want to be a family lawyer and I really want to help people. I want to be an immigration lawyer and I want to help people. Or like me, you think, oh God, no, that would be just so draining coming home at the end of the day, having had all those awful stories, and I'd rather just deal with buying and selling companies, whatever.
Yeah.
But you might not know. So I mean, Google is your friend. That is a really valuable resource. And it will you also then think, well, do I want to go to a big city? Do I want to go to London? Spoiler alert, you don't have to. You can go to Leeds, you get Manchester, Newcastle, but all of those places. Or even smaller, you could stay in your local town, Harrogate, Huddersfield, whatever. But I think the initial first ports of call are obviously your sort of careers advisors. Then you've got Google, but also LinkedIn. Get yourself on LinkedIn, get the profile, use the search function. And like I said, people have found me. I don't know how they've searched for me. I don't know what search terms they've used. Link in with people and just keep abreast of what they're doing and who they're seeing and what they're talking about. I think there's loads of resources and all of that stuff is available. And then just start asking questions. Like I said, I do get approached by people and I will always try and respond. I've been a bit rubbish in the last few weeks just because of transaction, but try and help.
Fair enough. Because you're huge LinkedIn. I'll call it LinkedIner, which I quite like as a name. Anyway,
that's a different kind of
it's like networking, and it's LinkedIn.
Technical term, apparently, which I can't say if that sounds any better, to be honest with
you. But yeah, you're very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You come up with like really inventive posts, lots of football ones, which I always appreciate, and women's football related as well, which snaps. But yeah, I think why is it such a good tool? Is it just for networking? And why do you think young women should be on LinkedIn? What's the importance of it?
So the importance of it, I think, is a shop window into who you are. And so this goes to kind of personal branding, but I think it goes back to the original point that we're not all the same. I know it's easy to think we are because of the way we are stereotyped, but actually I think when I started taking a conscious decision to post more, what I really wanted to try and put across was that, yes, I do the job that I do, but I also am a load of other things as well. And that hopefully some of those things would resonate with people. And it just, whether that's people looking to join the profession, people who had businesses and maybe would want to work with me over somebody else because something that I'd written about was relatable. And so it was partly to actually advertise me as a human. I think there comes a point when you've been a lawyer for long enough that actually when people are coming to use you to use your services, they expect a level of qualification because you've just been doing the job for so long. The differentiator then between you and another partner, another law firm is actually who you are. and
Yeah.
what you'll like and how you approach things and what your take on the world is. And ultimately, when you're doing a transaction like the ones that I'm doing, you'll be talking to people several times a day, and you need to be able to find some form of kind of commonality so that actually when the phone rings, they're not, you're not going to think, oh, hearts think I've got to talk to this person. Equally, if you're ringing them, then they're not doing that same thing. So
Yeah.
I really try to kind of sit there and say, look, I am different, I think, and my interests are different, and certainly make me stand out from other lawyers. I've talked about the fact that I drive a Mustang, got tattoos, my dogs feature. I do talk about football. I mean, all kinds of stuff in there. Oh, weightlifting. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and
Yeah.
I think as well there is so much on LinkedIn, and a lot of it is the same. And I do try posting professional content and sort of saying, talking about law or whatever. That stuff is never going to get you. You're not going to stand out because every other lawyer is also doing that stuff. It's useful to have it there as that kind of context. So if somebody is what you call a lurker and they're just kind of looking at profiles and seeing that stuff in there, that kind of bedrock of experience and, stuff that kind of, demonstrates your creds, for example. But I'm not expecting, to set the world alight writing an article about, the Companies Act, because nobody cares really. But what they will be more interested about is anecdotes from, posts that did particularly well recently was crap things partners have said to me over time, because it resonates, because actually everybody in the profession's had the same thing. And that was what was really interesting. Talking about real things, like my stepdad died really suddenly last May, and I talked about that. And actually, people will then comment and message, because actually there's all these kind of shared emotions, and a lot of people will criticize posts like that and say, well, it's not Facebook, save it for Facebook. I think actually, though, I think that's the wrong take, because yes, it's a professional networking site, and yes, therefore there are certain things that you probably wouldn't post about, and the way some people post on it is quite
there is some
some
gym
there's some
all that
there's awful stuff on there, but at the same time I'm still a human being, and actually that kind of content is relatable.
And it's like,
sorry, you go.
no, it is life. It impacts work life as well, so it's not exactly, it is.
And I think, you asked about women specifically. I mean, I suppose it just goes back to that same point. We are still a minority. But some of the best posts on there, some of the best content I read is produced by women. It's fantastic. Like, honestly, it's so inventive and interesting and funny. And, there's a lot of content. Like, I'm not a mother, but there's a lot of people posting about juggling motherhood with a full-time job. Just all kinds of stuff. And that's really interesting, and it's valuable for people who are trying to join the profession and looking at it. If you've got somebody who's constantly posting about 2 a.m. finishes and how horrible it is and stressful, you might think, God, I don't fancy doing that. But if you see posts from women who are like, well, actually, I had to leave early because it was my day for pickup, or it was sports day, or it was the play. Years ago, I had I had a completion, and one of my clients was a woman, and it was her son's music play, and she had to go and watch him play the glockenspiel or something. I mean, the world is changing, and this is completely acceptable. But but use it to kind of understand the kind of lives these women lead. If they are doing something that you think you might want to do, what kind of stuff are they sharing? Just telling you, oh, I completed this deal. Delighted to have completed this transaction for important client, blah, right? That's what it all used to be. It's so boring. Nobody cares. That's my job. I'm meant to be doing that. But if I'm sat there going, well, today I got this lovely day, I got to go to the races, or, I posted the day my dog broke his leg. And, all this stuff, right? It's not directly work related, but they're seeing this jigsaw puzzle of all these different facets of some job. And you think, well, actually, she's got a life outside of the office, and she's hopefully, seems like a well-rounded person and all this sort of stuff.
But you do it so well. I mean, I read your post and then I always think, how can I because you just so eloquently just link something back, something that's happened in your day to day will just then have a lesson, or it'll get you thinking, or it's delivered so well.
Thank you.
I sit there and I think, I don't know can I do that? Because I just, it's a funny one because I've got this podcast and I've also got my full-time job, which is like a finance man. Very different. And I think, should I post sometimes about the podcast or just keep it separate? Should I just start doing it a bit more? Because it is still your walking advert. It's your personal branding. I've got no plans of leaving my job. If you want. But it's it's still important to have that on there. And it's the first thing I check when I get a CV in is someone's LinkedIn. Yeah. If they've got like a nice picture, not saying you need to be like, gorgeous or it's nothing like that, but you've actually gone to the effort of having some sort of photo on there. And different bits, it's like you've got a little bit of something going on. I can see your history, I can see where you've been. It is the first thing that I click to as soon as I get a CV in and I get a full name. Yeah. It's like, let's go. But how, like, would you say it's changed your career since posting, or was you already at a sort of level that you've not got a massive impact from it?
No, I think it has. Like, not in any. So there's certain kind of tangible ways that it has kind of not improved or changed my career. But obviously, I've moved jobs quite a bit over the last few years, and yet my LinkedIn profile has stayed the same. And what I've seen is contacts that I haven't maybe heard from for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years wouldn't know where to find me on just by Googling. So they've gone on LinkedIn because we've been linked in connections, something. They've found me on there and they've messaged me and they've been referring me work. So that's a very tangible kind of reason. The other one is people, and this is one of the nicest things I think, is people who will follow you and then just or link in with you, and they'll just send a message going, I really like reading your stuff, it's really interesting, or I can, it's resonating. Somebody messaged me a few months ago now and said, I got asked the other day if I knew a corporate lawyer, and he said, I actually know some in real life, but you were the first one that sprung to mind because you post and stuff.
Wow. Also
means that when I actually meet people for coffee or, at an event or something, particularly if it's a coffee that I've, has been sort of specifically scheduled, you've already got something to talk about, or you feel like a bit like the person because the posts have been there. But I go to events and I get introduced to people, particularly around Leeds, because it's quite a small market, or there's lots of us, but everybody seems to know each other. But invariably, one of the first things that people will say to me is, oh, I really like your LinkedIn posts. I've read your LinkedIn posts. And when I joined the firm here in December, they had just hired a marketing manager only probably 2 or 3 weeks before I joined. And a big LinkedIn push was actually part of their strategy. And because people tend to perform better than organisations because it's person to person. Yeah. But they've sat there going, actually, it's really useful that you're here because you do use it all the time, and we want to try and encourage others in the business to do that, because yes, it's my page, so primarily I'm going to talk about me and what I do. But try and support the firm's content. I try, not to write something where the firm is going to turn around and go, Christ, what have you done? Like, I try and keep a positive tone. It is not the place to start slinging mud and whinging. And ultimately, I don't go in for that negativity anyway. Like, the internet, I know people see it as a place to kind of I think it's, that's a whole other conversation. That is very much not my bag. Yeah. But I also recognise that I'm a representative of the firm that I work for. And so I also think, even if I'm not expressly talking about what I'm doing at work, I think the fact that if I'm sharing happy things and positive things, it kind of reflects well on them anyway. And, if colleagues share something or do something, I will, like it, comment it, try and kind of create that traction. But I've met my network has widened so much more. And it's, I've not necessarily met them, but I now know people all across the place through LinkedIn that I wouldn't feel uncomfortable contacting if I needed if I either needed, if I felt they were the right person to help me, or I don't know, go to London every now and again. It's an ideal way to kind of pick up with people and actually say, I'm in London, do you fancy a coffee? Let's get together. Because to me, LinkedIn's the starting point. You don't do all of your working online. You use it as a stepping stone, or to reinforce the real networking, the real relationships.
Yeah. So I think I've banged on about networking so much, and everything you spoke about today just absolutely solidifies what I kind of knew. But like I say, for younger women, it's like for me, I wasn't at a like really well paid school. I
Mm,
have got where I am through networking 100%. Like
yeah,
hands down, know that. That is how important it is.
yeah.
Um, do you think that's something that came naturally to you, especially if you think about how you maybe was at school?
Mm.
Um, or do you think it's something that you've had to learn and develop?
I've had to learn it.
Mm,
When I was interviewing for jobs 4 years ago, whenever it was, and I was being asked because of the level I'm at, I was being asked about networking, and I said no, 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 I don't do that. I'm a backroom person. You can give me the work, and I'll just do the work. And I genuinely believe that that wasn't me just kind of that is, and because I think that's kind of the role I'd been playing in the job that I was doing. And then
mm-hmm.
I anyway moved firms, and I can't even tell you what happened or why, but actually it became evident quite quickly that that just wasn't the case at all. That actually I do enjoy meeting people. And I'm going to caveat that in a second, but I do enjoy meeting people, and I enjoy learning about people, and I enjoy, I think having had those years in COVID, we all had those where we stuck at home and you devoid of social contact, and it becomes quite difficult. And
Yeah,
getting back out in the world and seeing people is it can be really uplifting if you're with the right people.
yeah.
I really don't like, and I'm not sure there are many people that do, but I hate even now the idea of going into a room on my own and I don't know anybody, or there might be
Yeah.
two or three people in that I don't know, but kind of getting a drink and finding a circle that you can kind of force yourself into. Some
And
people
you
are
just
amazing at that.
walk into
I
awkwardly
hate
like
it.
a pro.
Oh, honestly, I stand there
So,
like, and people find that amazing because I am generally quite outgoing and quite,
yeah.
quite big personality. But that, no, I will actively avoid doing that.
There's nothing
And,
more. You drinks like you're just kind of holding it and a bit like
and you're just
fuck,
standing
does
there
not work.
looking like,
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah.
it's like, the first Bridget Jones film where she's giving a
Yes.
speech and she doesn't turn the microphone and she's standing there looking dead awkward. And then Daniel says, "Do you want to go for, I'll
It's
take your pants
it's
for dinner."
pervert.
It's yeah, tits because that is his name. Ah, and I'm just like
Yeah.
sitting there thinking, if I'm lucky, Daniel Cleaver might come and take me out for dinner,
Oh
or I'm
God.
standing looking really awkward until I can just sort of think, can I slope off?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I also think, so this is the other thing as well, is so I'm much, much better in smaller groups, but I also think they're more valuable. I think generally
Mm,
you are, whilst you maybe have to, I think you have to go to some of those events. I think that,
yeah.
it's a part of the job. It's a necessary evil. I try and limit them as much as possible.
Mm,
But actually the value is going out with one person or two-person, two
yeah.
people, the smaller events where you actually can properly get to know people rather than talking really superficially
Mm,
over, a warm glass of not very nice wine and, some little canapes that are coming around that look a bit strange and fingers.
yeah. Well,
So,
to be honest, no, all I ever want to do is eat the canapes. To be fair, I'm just like looking around for the next tray of food. Like, I love to
thing is
eat, so I'm
though,
always like,
I've
I
got
love to
celiac
eat.
disease and they've always got some form of bread on them. So I'm like, oh, these gluten-free? Like, no. So I don't eat
Ah,
any food ever. So I'm just having this like warm, horrible one. Anyway, no.
you
But
look really professional because I'm always worried because I'm like for the food. I'm like, where's the food? Where's the food? And I can't concentrate for just looking for the food.
I
So
think
it's like, no,
yeah. Events that don't have food as well, because this is the other thing. Like at the end of the day, people are like, yeah, as in literally, at the end of the day, people will come
yeah,
from work. I think you need to give them a bit of some sustenance, and also as well, like the world is changing. Like when I started as a trainee, it was just, the world was that you just got taken out for drinks and nobody thought about food, and you would
yeah,
get absolutely blind drunk. And it was, actually now, the idea that, well, now I think the world is changing. People aren't really interested in that. People want to go home and not be ruined for the next day. People
yeah,
don't want to make a bad impression in front of their peers and colleagues. And people,
yeah.
I drive. So anyway,
Mm,
I don't, as a trainee, I lived in town. I could, wander home and just collapse for the weekend. Now I drive home. So, drinking is not an option. It's fine. And I don't feel I need that anyway to kind of if I'm wanting to get something out of the evening, I don't want to then wake up the next day and think, well, I can't remember anything that was said because I'd had too many glasses of wine. That was a waste of an evening. Whereas at least if I have been, you can sit there thinking, well, I want to just meet not just the people that I'm with, but I'm with people. And, I think you become, as you just get a bit older, you just become a bit more aware of the impression that you are giving to people. Whereas when you, again, 23, straight out of uni,
free wine.
Exactly. Free wine, maybe free dinner. You're not giving a second thought to anything else. Whereas sort of you kind of grow up a little bit and think, actually, and also hangovers are just not the same once you've turned 40. Like,
no,
not.
And I do think it gives you a bit of Dutch courage, which is quite useful in those situations.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not saying we took some guests to cricket about 6 weeks ago. And we went up to Headingley and we'd gone for brunch, which was lovely, and then we'd wandered down, and there was, as we walked into our block, there was a big sign on it saying something like, "This is the no drinking block," and we thought, oh,
what?
And we thought, hang on a second, what's happened here? Anyway, as it was, it meant the block next to us, but not because anybody was planning a bender, but it was nice to have a couple of pints in the sunshine watching the cricket. And you sort of thinking, oh God, it wasn't, and as it was fine, but there was a couple of minutes where we thought, oh dear, is it, strictly PG event this? We're just having orange juice all day, cups of tea. But yeah, I think, people don't, when I was a trainee, the idea of somebody taking me out to pay for drinks, because that's what I did as my socializing, was great because I wasn't paying for it. I think nowadays you need to offer more than that. People aren't going to fill up their evenings with their family and their friends and just a box set. Just to be taken out drinking. It's not enough correctly, because it's not. So you need to be offering them a bit more value than that. And again, that's how the world has moved on, and I don't think it's a bad thing, to be fair, but it does mean you're kind of trying to set up events. It's not just a pub crawl anymore.
So just one more piece on networking. What sort of advice would you give someone? Say they really want to approach someone. It could be someone internally in the office that they want to network internally with, or if it's to do with building out a network for your type of work. How do you go out approaching someone? Like what advice would you give to getting that coffee? Or
you know what? I think this is probably going to sound just so basic and so obvious, but I make a point now, if I see someone, whether it's around the office or at an event or anything, and I don't know, if I like what they're wearing or whatever, or I'll tell them. Because aside from anything else, who doesn't like being told that? And I know that sounds probably quite superficial, but actually it's really nice to go and say, you know what, I really love your skirt. It's great. Where have you got that from? Or whatever. Or we just had a new paralegal join in the team, and when we have here, a little email gets sent around with a few key points about people. People are asked to write about themselves, and this guy that's joined is also from Bradford and also Bradford City fan. So I just basically went over and I said, "Oh, you so and so," and we got chatting. And so if I already know something about them, I'll try and ask them a question about that. If I don't, you're going to have to just use what's available to you. And that is usually what they are wearing. Or if you are, but let's say you're both at an event. So maybe you're both at the cricket or something and you're watching it. You literally just go and say, "You enjoying this? Have you ever been to a cricket game before?" And it sounds really basic, but also opening with a question, either opening with a question about them. Or asking about them, because I think even if you are at a networking event and ultimately the idea is to try and get work out for people, nobody wants to be sold to. So do not do that. Also, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a salesperson. I can't actually overtly sell. That's not what I do. So I think you need to just do it as you would do anything or meet anybody. I mean, I don't go out anymore, so I don't meet people. So I feel what that's like. But invariably, you would go over to them and you would pick on something. You would pick something and ask about it. It might be something as simple as, "Oh, where did you get your shoes from?" I mean, it sounds so basic, but actually that then conversation, and it just, because we all know why we're there, right? So people are going to want to talk to you, but start it by making it about them, not you.
Yeah, yeah. And people love talking about themselves. So if you
Exactly.
get them on it, then they'll, yeah.
And then you learn, because this is the other thing, the stuff that comes out in that conversation, you know, because you might find, oh yeah, actually I got them from so-and-so, but, and they were in the sale because or actually I'm only wearing them because this morning I realised my dog had the pair that I wanted to wear, the dog had chewed and I couldn't wear them.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got dogs as well. Blah, 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 and off you go.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Just questions. Great. No, I love that. Do you, you just said then that you don't have, sales isn't part of your job, but for me, it does sound like there is a huge sales element in what you do in terms of you've got to win business at the end of you've got to win the job. You've got to get the job on, right? You've got to get the trade or whatever you the deal.
But I think, you know, nothing, I mean, you'll probably get this as well, is so, you know, on LinkedIn, you accept a LinkedIn connection and the first thing they do is go, oh, I've read this, I've read your profile. I'd really like to show you this thing that I'm doing. And you go, right, nah, no, thank you. It's that sort of sales thing. So I would never, ever go to any event, even when it is networking and clearly the point of it is to win work, and say, hey, Amy, I'm a corporate lawyer. Would you like me to tell you about the kinds of work that I do? Because I know full well the answer is no, probably followed by them walking away, and they'll never speak to me again. And also, it's not very interesting. Like, you've got to remember that we're humans first, and the relationship is not built on talking about transactions that we're doing. It's built about talking about often the mundane. You know, the heat wave we've had currently, everybody loves talking about that and how they've not been used for it and all of this stuff. Talk about that because, you know, we're grown humans. The conversation will follow, and don't worry about thinking about having to stick to a professional script. Because if you've met someone and hit it off with them at, say, an event where lots of people are, pick up with them separately and follow up. And then, you know, and then go for coffee or go for some lunch. And then gradually over time, the work will inevitably come in because they'll want to tell you about what it is that they do.
Yeah.
But don't force it. I think it's when it's really forced and pushed, that's when people just get turned off. So I just don't think.
Build a relationship and then the sale will just come. You don't actually need to actively sell.
Exactly. I mean, they say, somebody told me that it takes like 7 points of contact before you're going to get that kind of work anyway. And if you think like that, you won't see people every week. You probably won't see them every month. 7 contacts could take 18 months. It could take 2 years. There's no rush. And I appreciate that it feels like there's a rush. And certainly I do, you know, I've not been in this job very long and I do feel this pressure to bring the work in. But Ray and I both know that this stuff doesn't happen overnight, even in a market that's quite buoyant, which it's not. That, you know, as long as I'm going out and meeting people, maintaining those relationships, maintaining those contacts, you know, you've just got to sit there and think, I put the work in, I put the effort in, and it will come back eventually. I can't just wait for it to come to me.
Really good advice. Like I say, networking to me is the ultimate. And the 7 points of contact's really interesting because I think I probably won't fact check this, but you know, basically, I think seeing a LinkedIn post or something like that sits as one of those 7 points. So it might be an email, might be a call, might be a coffee, might be I've seen your LinkedIn post, seeing this, and then you sit in their mind. And that is you're at the front of the brain. Then, like you say, that guy. First time he thought, I need a corporate lawyer. I've actually got a friend who's one, but you're the first one in your forefront of my brain. So really interesting. So network. And thanks, Amy. That's so interesting. Right. I can't let you go before talking about being yourself at work, because I feel like you are exactly that. The personal branding on LinkedIn is super like quirky. You talk about crazy stuff. We've talked about that. But I think the way you dress, maybe we start there because you've got tattoos. I think last time we spoke, you might have had some docs on and you just had whatever you're rocking, sort of a more of a chilled outfit, not the stereotypical lawyer image. Have you ever felt pressure that you've needed to be like that? And just, what sort of like put you down
I think
finding the comfort of this. Yeah.
I mean, it's a tradition. It is a traditional industry. I think less so since COVID. I think because obviously we were all stuck behind Teams screens, and everybody just thought, well, I'm not sitting in a suit all day. I
Yeah.
don't own a suit, and I haven't owned a suit for a long time. So I think there has been a gradual relaxation of the rules, and I think I was thinking about this last night before, obviously, the conversation today, and about the kind of advice that I would sort of think of it. And it's, I mean, I'm obviously in a position now where I've been doing the job for a very long time, so
Mhm.
it is easier to be myself more because I don't feel the same need to actually prove myself because
Yeah.
I've been doing it for so long. And I think there is an element of you kind of have to play the game. And I have tattoos. They're not all, I mean, I have a lot of them. They're over both arms, but I do tend to wear sleeves, for example. And whilst you
Yeah.
can sometimes see some of them, I don't have them kind of completely out front and center because I also recognize that there are people in the profession, including clients, who would be a bit like, oh, rightly or wrongly, So, but I also think that, so I think there is an element of, certainly whilst you're starting out and finding your feet,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to say try and fit in because I actually don't believe that. I absolutely do not believe that. But I think what you don't want to be is viewed as being the person who is standing out for the sake of standing out. I think
Yes.
I think there is an element also, though, actually, of maturing. I think it's one of these like lovely things as you get older. So, when I was in my top 20s, it's a very different world from being in your 40s. And
Mm.
actually, it's true. And again, this is all stuff that gets trotted out on Instagram and stuff. But actually, as you get older, you realize you care less what people think. And you realize that actually what's more important is how you feel. I think the big thing, the most important thing is you need to wear what you feel comfortable in. And I
Mm.
don't mean that as in purely like tracksuit bottoms and a t-shirt. Trust me, that's literally all I wear around the house.
Yeah.
But if I was to walk into a professional meeting dressed like that, I wouldn't feel comfortable because I haven't
No.
fit in. I think you've got to look at it as like game face. So,
Mm.
whilst a footballer puts his uniform on, I used to be a special constable, so I put a police uniform on, and it was like this armor. I come to work and I'm wearing most of my work, some of my work clothes I wear outside of work, but most of them I wear just for work. And I view it
Mhm.
as game face. I go, I'm dressed for it because if I'm coming into the office, I'm seeing my colleagues, I'm seeing clients, might be seeing contacts, and I need to be presenting the best version of me. And for me, that means um, feeling confident and feeling put together. And
Yeah.
my version of put together isn't necessarily what other people view as being put together, but I've always liked crazy shoes. I like things that stand out. And again, without wishing to sound too superficial about it, it's a point of conversation. I have a
Yeah.
skirt that has this big golden eagle, like, embroidered across the side of it that I had
Yeah.
bought from America, and I wear that, and again, people see that as a point to come over and talk to me about it. To go back to what we talked about before, going up and approaching people,
Yeah.
people will just have a conversation about it. So there's an element of being memorable, but also I like that. I enjoy experimenting with my clothes. I enjoy, I mean, I don't know how to make clothes. I do have a sewing machine, but it's in the garage. It doesn't work properly. But I like customizing things so they fit me properly. And
Nice.
I like putting things together and trying to create outfits. I've also, I used to be matchy matchy. I've realized that's really boring. And I like
Mhm.
clashing, or I'll pick one standout piece. Um, and I think it's all about, I think, how I feel, and therefore will perform better if I
Mm.
feel confident in how I am and what I'm wearing.
I think, like you say, I love that thought process though, because I feel like there's a line like you say, of, um, walking into a room and feeling comfortable in that room because
Yes.
you're dressed appropriately.
Yes.
But then feeling like nowadays there's more of a freedom to still have that expressiveness of yourself
Yes.
where you can present who you are. So it's finding that balance, I guess.
It
And
is. It is, and it is a balance because I think, sadly, I think if I had tattoos all up my neck and around my face, that would be
mm,
problematic, or over my
yeah,
hands, and it would be problematic. And there would be people out there who would have a valid argument to say, well, it shouldn't be. Well, no, it
yes,
shouldn't be. But the fact is, it still is.
it is.
So we have to recognise that there are guardrails, and that's
Yeah,
fine within the confines of that. Actually, I think there is quite still a bit of freedom of expression, and increasingly, I think, again, law firms are recognising that, and the profession is recognising that, because ultimately as well, our clients don't all wear suits all the time. They will wear
Yeah.
jeans, t-shirts. They will have loads of tattoos. They may have them all
Mm.
over their face, and that's entirely fine. And again, if they see you and you're not fully suited and booted, they will immediately feel more comfortable, because you don't.
Mm.
It's not that gulf between you as this distance. They
Yeah.
can relax in your company, which is how you don't want them to be scared of you, because you need to create
Mm.
a relationship.
Mm. Yeah. No, amazing. Well, Amy, we better start wrapping this up, but this has been absolutely a really, really valuable um episode from someone with amazing experience, amazing life experience, and just everything that you sort of preach and talk about. I absolutely wholeheartedly believe in, and
Thank you.
I think it's been brilliant. So thank you so much for coming on. Before you go,
Mhm.
this is a segment that I started last week. So it's we're gonna do, and also just bear with me because I have got a mixer here.
Okay.
We're gonna do some girl boss commandments.
Love it.
So I'm killing myself with this mixer. So um I am going to ask you three questions.
Mhm.
Two of them are going to be commandments, and they're going to go into the Bible, and one is going straight in the bin.
Yeah.
So the first one is, what's one piece of advice from a woman you admire that stayed with you?
So it's from my mum. And when I went off to uni, she said to me, say yes to everything. And I did try that. And I've realised as I've got a bit older, that's a bit too general and you can spread yourself too thin. And I
Yeah.
think say yes on purpose, be purposeful in saying yes. It's recognising the value of your own time, but also the value in the things that you're being asked to go to. And if it's something you really don't want to do, or you've tried it once and you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I think it's being open to
Yeah.
opportunities is probably the advice.
Love that. And then what's one piece of advice you'd like to pass on to the next generation of women?
So I wrote some down because obviously you'd asked
Oh,
me today. So advice that I
gorgeous.
would pass on is, don't think you've got to do things the usual way. So
Mm.
again, when I started out, I noticed how many men, specifically in my team, were disappearing off for golf days all the time with clients. So they'd be out of the office getting all this golf paper. I thought, this sounds like a great idea. And I asked a friend to give me some golf lessons, and I was absolutely awful at it. I mean, I was so bad at it, and I hated it. It was rubbish. And I thought, right, well, clearly that's not going to work for me. I need to find my own way. And
Mm.
having joined the job that I'm at now, the two other partners in my team both play golf. That's how they network. They
Yeah.
don't need another person who plays golf. They want someone else who does all kinds of other stuff. So you've got to
Yeah.
forge your own path. It's great to emulate others and take on bits of what they do that you think looks good and that you can make work for you. But don't feel like you have to do exactly the same as what other people are doing. You've got to forge your own
Mm.
path.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. And lastly, one piece of advice we want to put straight in the bin.
So again, I think this is sort of touching on something we've already talked about, but people aren't looking for corporate clones. Don't feel that you've really got to soften yourself too much to fit into other people's expectations of you. I think women now we're finding more autonomy, we're finding more
Mm.
confidence, we are more comfortable being in the room
Yeah.
alongside our peers. We don't feel apologetic for being there. So don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like you have to, and I think this goes back to the clothing thing as well. And the just, don't feel like you have to apologize just for being you. That
No.
just is crap. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, be yourself. I mean, again, we've already talked about that, but I think, don't worry about bending over backwards to please other people.
Mm-hmm. Brill. And it's very, very solid advice. It's going straight in the Bible. Amen. Thank you, Amy. This has been brilliant. Like I said, thanks so much for spending the time with us. And I hope this would be so useful for any young women out there, whether at uni, whether you're 16, whether you're at college, not got a clue what you want to do. This is a job I didn't know existed, and it sounds unreal, to be honest. I bet there is boring bits, but yeah, it sounds I'm obsessed with having my mind open to it. So yeah, I hope it's resonate with other people as well. So thank you for coming on. Guys, if you've liked this episode as well, comment, subscribe. This is when I do my little pitch, and follow. That's the same as subscribe. I'm not very good at this, you see, Amy, because I'm quite a millennial at heart, even though I'm literally in it by a year. But yes, if you like it, keep listening and follow along. But Amy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks, Katy.
see you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.